Greetings, free thinkers. Welcome to the Hoggcast. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing fine. I certainly am. Okay, what do we have for you on today's episode? We have for you a chilling one. This is the video made by Republican Representative Kat Cammack, and she is at the border. She's talking to families, usually young migrants coming across, about the treatment they are getting, not by the Biden administration, we know that that's subpar anyway, but by the coyotes and the people movers, we'll call them that, the people movers, taking them there, taking them to the United States. And some of the things that particularly the girls are going through are quite bad, quite harsh. So let's get into this video. We've got this one clip to watch. It is of her relaying her experiences, speaking to these mainly young, unfortunate women who are coming across the border. So let's get into that now. But if you haven't yet, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and share this video around. It is extremely hard to grow on YouTube at the moment in the current climate, where independent channels, commentary and different viewpoints are being suppressed by the million, literally. So there are share buttons down below that will just copy it straight over to your social media feed. Share this with the normies as well, and it takes a few moments to do this, your friends and family. That can really help not only combat the censorship, but push back on the narrative, the woke narrative that is ruining so many lives. Okay, let's go.
Most heartbreaking was talking to these kids. I myself personally spoke with a 9-year-old girl who was having a hard time even telling me her name. And when I couldn't really make out the words, I finally asked one of the agents, "So what's going on here?" And he said, "She can't speak. Her vocal cords have given out. She was screaming because she was being..." This is happening on our...
I'm going to have to censor that one, so you probably heard that muted, but a gang of men did unspeakable things to the girl.
On our border, this is happening to kids. Their innocence is being stolen. The majority of the girls, more than 50%...
Just look at that. Look at that. They're piled in like shafts of wheat. They're human. Look, I know that mass immigration can't continue forever. I'm a conservative, I understand that. This can't be allowed. But look at that, really.
Percent of the young girls that are in these processing facilities have been sexually assaulted. When they go through their belongings that they've carried for 20, 30 days from Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, they're finding birth control belonging to 10-year-olds because parents are sending them on these journeys with these cartel members, knowing that their daughters are going to get raped. The cartels are making $15 million a day.
So, we know the cartels are bad, the cartels are evil, they always have been, but you have to, I'm sorry, you have to assign a portion, and you can decide how big that portion is, of the blame to the parents. Is getting your anchor baby to the United States that important to you, that you will send your 10-year-old north with men you know are bad from these cartels, with birth control at the age of 10? Is it that important to you? Can you not find happiness in your own country? Is it really that? Because I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Personally.
This is unconscionable what is happening on our southwest border. We need every single American to really stand up and pay attention and put pressure on this administration to finally lead and take responsibility for the crisis that they have created at the border via executive order.
You know, Congresswoman, we were taking a look at some of the images of these facilities where all of these children are being held once they do get here, going through some of the things that you just mentioned that one little girl went through. Is there any type of treatment that they're then receiving once they get here, or are they just housed in these images that we've all seen?
So that's where they're being housed. That little playpen that you just showed, I have stood there quite a bit in the past 2 weeks, talking to the kids, talking to the agents. We have National Guard that is actually keeping inventory of diapers. Typically, just in the Rio Valley or the Rio Grande Valley sector, you have 1,800 agents. 900 of them have been pulled off of the border to actually babysit this very area that you're showing right now. This is what is so broken. These kids...
And it is broken. This is the human cost to fluffy woke ideals uttered out of the mouth of someone even CNN, thanks to the James O'Keefe tapes, admit is a geriatric, although they were caught trying to portray him, this is Biden, as a, quote, young geriatric, whatever the hell a young geriatric is. You see that Rep Kat Cammack has had to actually go on to Newsmax. This is Newsmax here, you've got One American News, and these other more prominent conservative news outlets, because this story, the human story, wouldn't get out. They wouldn't have her on MSNBC. They wouldn't have her on NBC, on ABC, and any other three-letter acronym you can think of. So that she has to go, the only place she'll be invited, which is on conservative media, to talk about the problems that have been created by the Biden administration and exacerbated by the mainstream media, the three-letter acronym types, who not only say roses are red, violets are blue, come on, let's go, come head north, but they'll run defense for Joe Biden. You even have them laying the pretext to questions. We had that, she's one of the worst. I think her name's April. Might be April Jones. I think she works for CNN. It's either CNN or MSNBC, but she is one of the worst quote-unquote journalists, as I call them, urinalists, America has. Probably the world has, right? And she's on the White House press corps. When she questioned Donald Trump, she would set the preset. I've always said this, the mainstream media they put the answer before the question. They have an answer they want. That's their narrative. So they will frame a question in a certain way to force you to give them the answer they want you to give. Donald Trump never played ball. That's why they hated him. But Joe Biden, she asked him the question in that one press briefing he had. You remember it, the train wreck press briefing. It felt like a funeral, even though they were all trying their best to help him. And she framed the question. She gave it a preset. She said that, they're only coming north because Joe Biden is the good guy. He's the best guy. He's the humanitarian. Is this humanitarian? You saw a minute ago, all of those, they weren't children, they were men, adult men, piled up like shafts of wheat. They were piled up like produce, like livestock, under those wooden floorboard things. I don't know what it was. I think they were being smuggled into the country on the back of a lorry or something like that. But is that good old Joe? Is that humanitarian Joe? Is that because Joe's the good guy? And everything's about gaslighting and hoodwinking you. And that's exactly why they removed the bars. Can you remember the mainstream media went crazy when you had the picture of just 2 minors? Just 2. And they were behind that cage. Even though that was from the Obama era, they said, woe is me, look at this picture. This is Donald Trump's cages. You had 2. Where is that mainstream media? Now we have minors piled on top of other minors, stretching up to the sky. A big pyramid of migrant children. Like a pyramid of them. They're all piled on top of each other. The mainstream media, crickets. The mainstream media, well, they're only coming because Joe Biden is such a good man. Our dear leader. I should imagine that all these mainstream media outlets have pictures of Joe Biden on the wall and Kamala Harris. Dear leader. It's the duplicity that sickens me to the core.
This is the first time they're seeing a doctor. When they're processed, they see contract medical personnel, and they're checked for lice, for scabies, and they get a temperature check. Not everybody gets a COVID check. If they're exhibiting symptoms, 2 Border Patrol agents have to actually then escort that individual to a local hospital. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, these kids are receiving a little bit of treatment.
And that's another thing. Where is the social distancing stuff and the mask stuff? Why does that apply to just us? I don't understand. The people who hyperventilate over social distancing, all of that suddenly breaks down. Their whole rationale suddenly breaks down when it comes to these camps and these encampments. All of a sudden, they completely forget about it. These same leftists that would walk in a long ring around you because they don't want to get within 6 feet of you. They're like, oh, don't come near me without your mask. Oh, social distancing. I'm a better person than you. Oh, moral indignation. Yet they would go here where there are people piled up to the sky and immediately that pretense gets dropped. What does that tell you? What does that tell you about these? Yep, this is what I'm talking about, leftists here. Nothing they do makes sense. And society is fractured. People need to come together. But you cannot come together when you have a person who is habitually doing different things in different times for different reasons, treating different people differently, even though it's the same situation. What do I mean by that? For example, what I said about the Rona bug a minute ago, the COVID and the social distancing and the masks. They treat American citizens one way and then they treat migrants another. And these are the people who claim they want equality. Why not treat them both the same? If you're fearful of Rona and you tell someone like me that to wear a mask and social distance, if you're really as scared of it as you say you are, why don't you tell them to do the same? It's hard to find this unity thing with people who do things like that. That's my point.
And care, but we're completely maxed out on resources, on personnel. They just don't have it. And HHS is supposed to be taking responsibility for these kids from CBP, but that's just not happening in the 72-hour period that they have really set up by law.
You just watched Newsmax TV.
And that's the clip. She went down to the border. Let's go back and look, that's what I was talking about. Look at all those men and that, I think it's a lorry they're on or a floorboard or something. I don't know exactly what's happening here, but there is a large number of what look like young men. Some boys, I should imagine. There might be females in there, but I can't see any. But look, it's like a basement cellar full of produce. That's what it looks like, livestock or shafts of wheat. Unbelievable, isn't it? It looks like a bin for humans, like a human bin. So you just like the humans that get thrown into the bin. That's what it looks like. Horrendous. Imagine if this was on Trump's watch. Imagine if this image you see here had come out under Trump. Remember what I said about the big song and dance they made over the 2 miners behind a cage? That was actually from the Biden-Obama era, but the mainstream media passed it off as a Trump phenomenon. But we don't blame them for that because they're just doing what's in their nature, which is to propagandize. But imagine if this image was under Trump. Imagine if Trump did all this. Imagine if that was on Trump's watch. But it's not. It's on Biden's watch. And the representative from Florida, she's had to go to Newsmax and these other prominent but small conservative outlets like One American News, and there's a couple of others, isn't there? But she had to go to Newsmax here to get these images out. Look at what's happened with James O'Keefe and Project Veritas. They have done yet another highly damaging expose, real journalism on CNN. And in case you didn't know, in unison, Project Veritas and James O'Keefe have been yeeted from social media, Twitter especially. Their accounts have been gone, and they give them a ludicrous reason, because they were hosting fake accounts. No, he wasn't. James O'Keefe had James O'Keefe's account and Project Veritas, which was his brand. Both are allowed. That's allowed on Twitter. But because they were doing legit journalism and destroying the narrative, this happened. And look, Republicans, if you ever get another sniff at government again, you need to crack down on big tech. Instead of just talking about it, and yeah, Ted Cruz, well done. But instead of Ted Cruz and his strongly worded letters, right, I appreciate the spirit, Ted Cruz, but they laugh at your strongly worded letters, right? You need to reel in the big social media companies, Facebook, Twitter, because they are destroying, they are, or at least facilitating, the destruction of community cohesion. Anyway, look, I'll leave it there. Let me know what you think of this here, this image. Let me know what you think of the video. Let me know what you think of the topic. Girls, minors as young as 10, with birth control tablets and pills or whatever it is they take, being sent by their own parents north. Is the anchor baby really that important to you that you're willing to do that to your own children? Life must really be cheap for you to do that to your own child. So we'll leave it there. Let me know what you think. If you haven't yet, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell and share this video around. It is extremely hard to grow in this current climate. Most channels, big and small, have stagnated due to YouTube trying to, and very successfully I might add, section off independent commentary channels. They want absolutely no challenge to the Democrat narrative. If you don't toe that line, you don't get promoted. It's as simple as that. So if you could share this around social media and to the normies, any normies you know, that could really help this small channel grow. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.